In the heart of Beijing, Tiananmen Square stands as a symbol of China's tangled history. 36 years ago, it was the epicenter of a movement that stunned the world. Today, it is a hyper-controlled space where even the slightest act of defiance becomes headline news. On the cusp of the 36th anniversary of June 4th, a brief moment during a flag-raising ceremony laid bare the lasting tension between remembrance and repression. On the morning of June 2, 2025, Tiananmen Square was holding its daily flag-raising ritual. A young man dressed in black suddenly vaulted the barrier and sprinted toward the flagpole's restricted zone. Within seconds, 8 or 9 security guards surrounded him, hoisted him face down by his limbs, and hauled him into an Iveco police van parked nearby. Guards shouted, "No filming! No filming!" as they tried to stop bystanders from recording. Although footage of this fleeting challenge was swiftly erased online, it still ignited anger and mockery. One user on X remarked, "They're so well practiced. His limbs never even touched the ground. How many people have they dragged off like this?" While other nations focus on science and livelihood, the CCP spends all its energy crushing its own people. This small scene underscores a larger truth. 36 years after June 4th, the Chinese government remains hypersensitive to any sign of dissent, especially around the anniversary. But what exactly happened in 1989, and why does that history still cast such a long shadow? What happened in 1989? In the spring of 1989, Tiananmen Square became the stage for a massive pro-democracy movement. The death of reformist leader Hu Yaobang sparked protests as students, workers, and ordinary citizens demanded freedom of speech, government accountability, and an end to corruption. For nearly 2 months, peaceful demonstrations swept Beijing and other cities. On the night of June 3, the government declared martial law, sending the People's Liberation Army into the capital. Tanks rolled through Beijing's streets. Soldiers opened fire on unarmed students and civilians. The crackdown, known as the June 4th incident or the Tiananmen massacre, left hundreds, perhaps thousands, dead. Beijing has never released official figures. Estimates range from 300 to over 10,000. China's rulers branded the protests a political turmoil and have fought to erase them from public memory. On the mainland, any discussion of June 4th is strictly banned. Mentions of 6B4 of 1989 or even the coded phrase May 35th disappear from social media almost instantly. Books, documentaries, and scholarly studies are prohibited. Many young Chinese know nothing about the events. Even cutting-edge chatbots, like DeepSeek's R1, respond, "Sorry, that's beyond my scope," when asked what happened on June 4th, 1989, reflecting Beijing's iron grip on information. Heightened controls in 2025. As the 36th anniversary approaches, Beijing has tightened its controls. Despite reports of strained central finances, the CCP spares no expense on stability maintenance, revealing its fear of historical memory and potential unrest. In Beijing, rights activists have faced restrictions since May 30. Veteran journalist Gao Yu was forced into a compulsory tour, effectively escorted away under surveillance. Others, Ji Feng, Wuqiang, Pujiqiang, Hidepu, Chajiangguo, are confined at home, police cars parked outside, officers working shifts to watch them. Some must send daily location pins and selfies to the police or face harsher consequences. In Nanning, Guangxi, dissident Zhou Qiming was warned not to leave home and must upload his location and a selfie every day. In Henan, several 709 human rights lawyers were ordered back to their hometowns for monitoring. Even a trip to the supermarket requires a police escort. Elsewhere, Guo and Hui and beyond, controls are equally stringent. Dissidents' attorneys and writers are subjected to forced travel or placed under guard. Online censorship grows harsher. One netizen was warned merely for reposting an image of a burning candle, proof that even the faintest symbol of remembrance provokes official alarm. The Tiananmen Mothers. Under siege, the Tiananmen Mothers, families of massacre victims, faced the tightest watch of all. On June 4, 2024, they were allowed to visit Wan Cemetery only under heavy escort during what many called the harshest security clampdown since 1989. Phones of dissidents and online activists were almost universally cut off. Similar measures are expected in 2025. Cemeteries and public spaces sealed, everyday travel strictly limited. 36 years on, and they're still obsessively maintaining stability, one Beijing activist said anonymously. What are they so afraid of? Outside mainland China, June 4th remains vivid. In Taiwan, a memorial at Taipei's Liberty Square on June 4, 2025 is expected to draw thousands calling for justice. Hong Kong once hosted the world's largest June 4th vigil, but the gathering was banned after the 2020 national security law, and organizers like Cho Hang-tung were jailed. Exiled 1989 student leaders Wang Dan, Wu Renhua, and others continue to document the truth. Wu Renhua, now in Taiwan, has spent decades compiling lists of the dead and detailing the units that carried out the crackdown. Li Shiming, a former officer who disobeyed orders in 1989, lives in Australia and urges the world never to forget. Uyghur activist De Lilet, better known as Wu Keixi, once negotiated with CCP leaders on live TV and was forced into exile after the massacre. He still cannot return to China, and even his parents cannot obtain passports. Their stories show that Beijing's persecution of June 4th participants never ends. International pressure and waning outrage. The United States, the EU, and other Western governments keep urging China to acknowledge the massacre, disclose casualty figures, and stop harassing activists. In 2019 U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo called on Beijing to provide a full public accounting. Yet, the sanctions imposed after 1989 have faded. As China's clout has grown, global criticism has softened, an alarming trend. A legacy that shapes the present. June 4th's legacy is not just history, it defines today's China. The crackdown crushed a decade of political opening and cemented an authoritarian model that persists. High-tech surveillance, mass arrests, and ever tighter censorship have only intensified. Witness the 2020 White Paper protests, the largest anti-government demonstrations since 1989. The CCP's tactics now extend beyond China, from mass detention in Xinjiang to the erosion of freedoms in Hong Kong. Tools forged in 1989 threaten democratic values worldwide. Human Rights Watch warns that Beijing's unchecked abuses pose an escalating danger to global freedom. Even in the digital sphere, Beijing's reach is long. The social platform Xiaohongshu instantly deletes posts mentioning the Tank Man, enforcing the party's demand for a correct view of history. Yet hope endures. Free from mainland censorship, young Chinese abroad seek out books, documentaries, and online archives about June 4th. Activists like Wu Renhua insist, a nation without historical memory is a tragedy. Their work preserves the truth. As one scholar notes, the more the CCP suppresses, the more it sparks curiosity. The truth will surface. 36 years later, one man's dash toward a flagpole reveals the power of memory. The Tiananmen protests were a cry for freedom, crushed by force but never forgotten. As this anniversary approaches, the world must keep asking, when will China confront its past? What does its silence mean for the future? Join us in remembering the victims of June 4th. Share their stories. Pursue the truth. Because a nation's future hinges on the courage with which it faces its past.
Going to march. Tiananmen Square. Why? Why? I think this is my duty.